Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning. How are you doing? I have a question for you. Do you know what CSO mean? I actually come to discover this term not long ago. I'll say about a few months ago. And quite interesting is because I've been to many conferences over the last, let's say, couple of weeks. And especially the last one I went to in the US, in DC, right? And it was amazing to see how many companies these days have a CSO. CSO stands for Chief Sustainability Officer. So it got me thinking, a lot of company actually seems to be now concerned about, I would say, sustainability. Or are they really? Do you believe they really are? And that's the question I wanted to discuss today. So if you're a business owner, are you really providing green leadership or greenwashing? Like many people could be thinking. That's what I wanted to discuss about. So stay tuned because we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail. Hello, good morning again. So my name is Tony Q. I'm the founder and CEO of Renewables in Africa. We are your clean energy champion, right? And then today I have a very important question, right? Discussing about what does greenwashing, green leadership mean with regard to the company. Because as I said, so I've been to many conferences, and especially the last few conferences I've been to, it is important to see or impressive to see how many companies now seem to be concerned about the climate change, right? So clearly there is a growing number. So everybody now wants to communicate on this topic of, you know, uh, 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 of the green, right? And the question you start wondering, is it all this interest genuine? So is it fake? Is it for real? So that's what I like us to find out about that. But before that, I like to tell me what do you think about that. But if you're new in into this topic, I just want to this channel. I just want to welcome you first into our channel and to say that in this channel, so Renewables in Africa channel, so what we do is very simple. We want to demystify the renewable energy sector for you, especially if you are, for example, an investor. You say that you have a lot of money, you want to invest into the sector, but you don't have the required information that allow you to take the decisions that are helpful for you. So in here, you find all the information that you want. So if you're also a professional, you want to jump into the sector, and many of you already have taken the step already, right? Like what I've done 10 years ago. So we're going to share information about you so that you know how to move ahead. And also, if you've been watching many of our videos before, you can see that we provide the information that suits pretty much everybody. And today, specifically today, the video will be talking to business owners. Because as a business owner, you want to know, where are you sitting? Are you actually providing green leadership? Are you actually doing greenwashing? Or are you in the middle? You don't know exactly where you actually leaning towards. And if it's the case, not a problem at all. Because as we go into the discussion, you actually will find out where you stand, and then you can address it if this not fits your objective. But first of all, let me all of you welcome you again. Let's just say I like you to do one thing. I like you to first of all drop a comment. Tell us what you think about the videos, and not only this video, but all the videos as well that you've seen so far. And if you haven't done any, so that's if you haven't seen any, that's the time for you to subscribe to our channel. And you want to know that we're actually broadcasting on 5 channels nowadays. So we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have Telegram. So you have multiple places where you can connect with us. And that's good because you can share with your network and get them to understand and see what is that you're doing and contribute, because I'm particularly interested by your contribution, looking at what is that you're thinking, what is that you want us to be discussing, and what can we discuss. And from time to time, we'll bring in some guests that also share their opinion. So in the next few weeks, we're going to have some guests at times, and I know I've not been able to do that in the last few sessions that we had, simply because I've been traveling up and down, and obviously it's a little bit then difficult to coordinate with those guests. But I promise you, it will be there. But now let's go back into the topic, especially if you're a business owner. So do you know if your company is providing green leadership or is doing greenwashing? It's very important. You may be asking me the question, so why is it important for me at all to understand it? So let me share with you a couple of stats, right? And also a presentation so that you can see why it could be important for you to understand exactly where you're standing and find out what is that you should not be doing. So that's what I'm going to be doing now in a minute. Yeah. So here is the first slide that I want to be sharing with you. So hopefully you can all see very clearly. So what is that you seeing? So that basically just full disclaimer here. Those are a couple of stats that come from a very interesting report that the BBC has done on the topic in January 2022. So if you go on YouTube, you're definitely going to see that, right? So I'm not claiming that all come from me. It doesn't come from me. It comes from the BBC. Very interesting, right? But what it says, and that BBC itself obviously has picked up those figures from McKinsey, as you can see, McKinsey study. So the Gen Z, so basically the young people these days, so they declare 70%, and that's, as you could see, is the big IT proportion of customers, right? Especially if in emerging market, Africa, for example, where you have more than 60% of the population who belong to this Gen Z, they're saying that 70% actually prefer not to buy from ethical companies. So that means it's not even a question of whether you believe into climate change or not. Your customer do believe into it. And if your customer believe into it, you know that you need to make sure that you will address their concern about why you would they will not consider you. And as they growing, they will grow with that. So their children as well will buy into what they believe into. So very important. So that you need to know that 70% of Gen Z shoppers, right? Those are the guys that the 20s or below of this generation, right? They believe into ethical company, right? You want to know about that. The other thing you want to know, that again, another study that sort of support and back this up even more. He said that 73% of millennials, right, say that they will spend more on sustainable brands. So they prefer to be shopping green. That's a study from Nielsen, right? So basically, you can see you definitely above the 70, your customer care about being sustainable. Your customer find it very important. That's why you as a business need to find it important. You can't sit aside saying that I'm not going to look at that anymore because, as I said, as obviously time passing, these guys, this customer will grow and they will grow with their children, who's going to be even more inclined toward shopping green. So clearly it becomes a very determining factor into business. And business, I've noticed that. And the reason I've said that, I've noticed that, because again, I'm going to share some more information, some more insights for you to understand. So that's what I'm saying. If you're a business owner, you really need to understand, where should I sit, right? Where to what these questions? Because I know some of them say, yeah, I don't believe into it, I don't want to do it. The question is, it's not even whether you believe into it or not. It's the people you looking to sell product to who actually believe into it. So that means if you want them to consider you, as a supplier of choice for them, you're going to be looking at what is important, right? Excellent. So let's go back to the study. And what I wanted to show is that basically a lot of companies these days will be using terms like plastic free, natural, sustainable, unsustainable, ethical, organic, eco-friendly, yeah, and locally green, and so on and so forth. And the trouble with that is that as I speak to many customers, right, a number of them won't also believe necessarily into it because they say that a lot of companies are just playing the game but are not true about that. And that's where we have the greenwashing that I'm going to be defining in a second. Even me, I have had to ask myself this question. I was like, oh, because if everybody is so keen into the green and sustainability these days, how come it's not necessarily reflected everywhere now in the actual supply chain, right? So, but obviously you got to understand as well that the issue is making its journey, right? So it start there by kind of the awareness. Once you have the awareness, companies start taking timid steps, but they're moving forward with it, right? But you will see that now it has become a proper, typical marketing argument, right? And people clearly want to position themselves into that. That's why you will see many and many of those words. And like I say, even me, I was very surprised. Was quite impressive, I have to say, because all of a sudden you go to a conference before, like I say, I'll say that joking, but it's not really a joke, right? Before we knew about the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, we knew about the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, we knew about the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, we knew about the COO, Chief Operation Officer. But now there is a rise, a big rise of a new position, the CSO, the Chief Sustainability Officer. And I can even tell you a personal anecdote because my brother-in-law, right, so who's a very, very talented, brilliant man, brilliant management consultant, yeah. So yeah, very recently, as I was talking to him, so he told me that he too was becoming very interested by the whole issue. He's actually taking a special course because he wants to become a CSO and obviously clearly um bring some impact and help companies because he's had the opportunity to deal with some of the biggest companies in the world here, and he knows how to think, and he knows how we can eventually reach out to them to get them to make to make the change. So clearly, the issue is becoming more and more real. And for me, a guy like me, been in the sector for more than 10 years, so it's great to see. It's brilliant to see. But I know as well that a lot of this company will just faking it. They won't be serious about that, and that's where sometimes, obviously, as you see those terms, right, you need to ask yourself, are they for real or not? I definitely will want them to be for real, but they have to be careful. But the reason I'm also bringing this up, and just to say that if you are a business owner and you are using these terms, you got to be careful about a couple of things. You got to be careful about the next thing is you want to be make sure that you're not actually greenwashing it. So what does greenwashing mean? Because sometimes people could be actually being accused of doing greenwashing without them being even aware of what it means. That's why I wanted to make it very clear, right? So I can define it so you could see. So this is a process of conveying a false impression or providing misleading information when you're actually not really serious about sort of decarbonizing your operation and making your product environmentally sound, right? So that's very, very important. And you got to be careful because these days, if you are caught being purposely deceiving customers, you can be punished for that. So that's why I wanted people, especially business, to be aware of that. And because why some would deliberately do that, there's a good number of they don't necessarily know what that they're doing it, right? They would just use term like that or terminology like that without knowing whether or not that they could be accused of being greenwashing. So in other terms, so if you are to use this term that I mentioned before, right, you got to make sure that you can back this up. This is the clear thing. You can back this up, right? So you have a process clearly that supports what you're saying here when you say that you're plastic free, you're sustainable, ethical, and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's very important. And I just want to say that this term of greenwashing, so you'd be quite surprised to know that actually not a new term. It's been around for a good number of years, right? So more than 30 years. Yes, yes, no joke. In fact, it came around for I think it's 1986 by an environmentalist, an American environmentalist called Westerveld. So if I'm correct, if I remember the story correctly, is he went to a hotel whereby we're using some towel. So the hotel was encouraging guests to reuse the towel just to make it clean, recyclable, and so on and so forth. But he found out that the hotel as well was involved into some practices that was clearly going against what they were asking their customer to do. That's why he came up with coined this phrase, of greenwashing, right? So that's where it comes from. So it's actually quite an old term. So that's a company needs to be very careful, but not doing it, right? But clearly we know that the sustainability is very important for customers. And because it's very important for customers, hence that company understand it, they want to position themselves and show that effectively they are taking the matter into their whole own hands, and they deliver product that are green, sustainable, whatever they say. But what I'm saying here is, if you don't back this up, you're going to be accused of doing a bit of a greenwashing here, right? I can see a comment here, so I'm just going to take comments. So I have Emmanuel say hello. Hey, Emmanuel, how you doing? great to see. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, yes, just do like Emmanuel. So if you have a questions, and I would love to see your questions, so feel free to drop it here, because I want to know what you're thinking, So, and it's always good to see live reactions from people, understand what they're thinking. So do you agree? Do you not agree? Can we discuss it? So yeah, that's what I love to see your live reaction. So if you have any question, so don't hesitate. Say, Emmanuel. So as you the first brave man to respond to it, just let me know. Do you have a question specifically? So if you have a question, I'd be happy to take it and to discuss it, right? So, and that would be good, right? So let me carry on. So as I was talking about that, yeah, I was saying that if you don't pay attention, you could be accused uh, of greenwashing, right? So, and as a customer, so what should as a customer, the consumer, what should you do to avoid being, as I said, trapped into this situation whereby uh company are just faking it, and obviously you buy into it, and after that you feel disappointed because you realize that, okay, it wasn't exactly what you were thinking. So there are clearly three things that you could be doing, and that's what I want to discuss next into my presentation. But one second, I'm just going to share that with you again. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, let me just share that. Yeah, that's where we're greenwashing. And just wanted to say that another quick thing is, again, from the BBC, they found out that, as I was talking to you about companies that are not serious about, taking these issues seriously, or not serious about backing up their processes, the term that they're using, by demonstrating that effectively their processes is as green as they are proclaiming, right? And the BBC so says that this source Ipsen found that 42% of websites using or touting green practices are actually not able to back this up, and this is where they could then be accused of being uh, uh, of greenwashing. So as a customer, so there's three ways essentially that you can do to make sure that you don't fall into this trap. So the first thing, you want to be skeptic. So that means when you see company, saying, proclaiming that they are green, 100% biodegradable, they're plastic free, you got to be skeptic first, right? Because to check whether or not this is correct. And you want to be looking at, if they're saying that, can they back this up? And a quick and easy way for you to find out whether they could back this up is to look at, for example, do they have labels in their product that is backing what they're saying? Because you want to know that there's some organization out there who sort of certifying product that company put forward, and a product that company are saying are green, right? So things like fair trade, you have EPA safer choices. We also have some international standards, right? And I'm not saying that those are the only one that you can look at, but the main idea here is you have companies, and their job is to certify those businesses to make sure that their services, their processes, their product are all green, are sustainable, and they are able to use that properly. So when you see that in a company, okay, most likely the way they're using this word makes sense, because I could see that somebody has checked them up, has assessed them up, and somebody's happy about that, somebody I can potentially trust, right? So the issue is, so how do we know that, for example, fair trade and EPA safer choice will have exactly the same criteria, right? That's another thing. So there's probably a need for standardization that needs to happen between those two. But at least you know that, at least if you get that, you're in the right direction. And the other thing is, you simply have to do your own research, right? So and you can have again another organization like Eco Labels, Guy, Think Dirty. They would allow you potentially to scan a product to see what these guys are saying, and they can help you very quickly understand whether or not what you're seeing makes sense or not, right? So that are things that you want to do. And as a business owner, the reason I'm also sharing that, and I will say that I want business owners to look at that, is for you to say that, be mindful of the fact that when you are using those terms, as I've mentioned, like a green, sustainable, eco-friendly, plastic-free, and so on and so forth, 100% biodegradable. Whoa, more and more customers become conscious of the of sustainability and will want to check that. And we have people, organization like that obviously speak up when they could see that you don't respect your own word, right? So that's why I say you want to be careful about that. Don't just use the term because you feel like it's trendy, it's cool, and without even backing this up. So you want to make sure that you are in a position to back this up. So it's very, very important. And ultimately, as I said, right? So because you understand that customer cares a lot about sustainability, and I show that you 70% of your customers are millennials, Generation Z, which I suspect in some market, especially emerging market like in Africa, that'd be the bigger portion of of customers cares about sustainability these days. So you want to position yourself there, and instead of deceiving people with greenwashing, providing some green leadership, being able to properly and seriously making sure that when you set up objectives, set up target, you're able to back this up, right? And you clearly aligning your words with practices that are green that you put in place, and you're happy to demonstrate to people, yes, we're doing it. And I know there's a lot of company doing the right thing, and we have to congratulate them, right? So, and this is what I wanted to say for today. So, yeah, so that's roughly what it's all about today. I don't know whether there's going to be any questions. So I know Emmanuel was around early on just to say hello. But Emmanuel, if you have any other question, I'd be more than happy to take it, right? But for all the rest of you, so let me just take a second break, and after that, we're back onto the question. Okay, excellent, excellent. So we're back in here. That's the time where I'm saying to people, feel free to share your question. Let me know what you think about that. Do you agree with this issue of green leadership, greenwashing? So what is your own experience? Do you believe company are serious? Why are they doing it? They're not serious. What do you think? Right? So that would be good, and we can discuss it a little more. Right? So let me see. I have a couple of reactions. I can look at that. So I have Emmanuel say, "Hey, hello." Emmanuel say hello already. You have any specific question, Emmanuel? So thank you for being here, by the way. So always appreciate that. Always happy to see that you taking your time to come and discuss with me. Yeah, that'll be good. And not only with me, but all the people that actually watch me. So great to see you, Emmanuel. So I have another reaction. Somebody saying Sunil. So I'm Sunil from India. We do lithium battery. Okay, Sunil, that's great. But I'm sorry that so that's fine if you're doing lithium battery, but uh, the topic today doesn't speak about lithium battery. I wanted to know whether you have a reaction to that. So thank you for reaching out, and yeah. So if we have something to discuss later, happy to discuss with you. But the key thing here for me first was to discuss about green leadership, greenwashing. Look at what people are thinking about that. So even later on, as you're watching the video, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it. Because one thing that we do, we always, always, always respond to any comment, to every question that are there. And I'm sure you've seen that, right? So if you've been even to a past video, you've seen that for every comment that you are making, we respond that. Why are we doing it? Simply because for us, it's a mark of respect, right? So you taking your time to watch the video, you taking your time to comment on it, and it's our responsibility to do it, right? So either I will see that I will jump on it, or one of my colleagues will see that I will jump on it and respond to you, and that's the way things are. I just wanted to say as well that on a regular basis, just let us know what is the topic that you want us to discuss, and we'll be happy to do that. And if you're a business owner, I want to ask you, did you find the video interesting for you, informative for you? Did you learn something? So do you have any comments that you want to make? Drop us a message. I'd be more than happy to say. Is it something maybe I've not missed? Something maybe that we're not taking into account enough? that's what we want to hear, we want to discuss. So yeah, and that would be grateful. So I don't think there is any other reactions today. So yeah. So if there is, more than happy to. And I know usually when I say that, that's the time somebody drop a quick message. But yeah. So as usual, very delighted, very happy to talk to you on a daily basis. And then yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more that we can cover. And yeah, so you just enjoy the rest of your day. And I usually will say, may the sun be with you guys. Take care. Get better.